Hi, I'm back again for chapter 7 part 3. So we are going to proceed to the next category of training technique, which is the simulation training techniques. So what is the definition of simulation training technique? Okay, I think you are familiar with the word simulation because you are doing the office simulation right now, especially for the subject 320. Okay, so let's recap what you are doing right now. 320, actually we are making you familiar with the office work, with the documentation on how you do the correction, especially the handwritten by your boss. Okay, this is what we call the simulation. So simulation training techniques is actually category of training techniques that provides the employee with an artificial representation of a real life situation. So this is what you are doing right now, for especially for the packet. Okay, so these are we have 10 actually for the simulation training technique. So we are going to proceed this one by one. Okay, let's go for the first one. Okay, the first one is the role playing. So the role playing is trainees assume to the role of someone in an existing environment. So what happened to you right now? You are assuming you are the executive assistant for Puan Haja Amira in the Wajah Ayu. Okay, this is what we call the role playing. Okay, so for example here, this is another example, is to train employees to deal with a certain human relation situation. The trainer might assume the role of an angry client, and the trainee assume the role of the employee dealing with the client. So this is quite good, the simulation, the role playing, because useful as a training in areas such as human relation, especially when you are working as the customer service department. Okay, but what are the disadvantages of this one is time consuming and etc. Okay, so this is the first one. Second one, the case method. So what is the case method? The case method is trainees are given a description of organizational conditions involving either a hypothetical situation or real situation for which they work. So the participants are required to identify a problem, to develop solution, or to make recommendation. Okay, so this one is the same thing happens to your case study. So you are required to do the case study for chapter 6, 7 and 8, right? Okay, so you need to come up with the list of identify problem solution, and then develop the solution and also make the recommendation of the solution that you have implemented. Okay, so what are the advantages? There are two. The first one is trainees who actively participate are able to obtain feedback on their suggestion or and recommendation. Number two is the technique often provides transfer from the case situation to the real life situation. Yes. Okay, when you do the case study, so you can adapt the case study to the real life situation. This is number two. Number three, incident method. So trainees are given a few details about a given situation, okay, such as they continue to ask questions of the trainer until they have sufficient information to make an informed decision. You can ask your supervisor again and again so that you get a concrete answer for your question. Okay, so the trainees prepare solution to the problem being considered, and when they presented their solution, the trainee discloses any additional information the trainee failed to obtain through the questioning phase of problem. So this one is incident method. So the trainee actually typically provide a solution based on all important facts. Okay, this is what we call, we give a situation, so you need to get information about the situation so that you can come up with the possible solution for that situation. Okay, next one, business game. This is number 4. Useful for increasing trainees' understanding of the economic aspects of an industry, especially the raw material, capital, equipment and personnel. Okay, it's raining right now. I need to make my my volume. increase my volume. So trainers have to decide what product prices to charge, how many additional employees to hire, and so forth. Okay, so for business game, one of the advantages is because it's in realistic nature. Now proceed to number 4. We have 10 for this one. In basket. Okay, are you familiar with the word in basket? Actually, in basket, you are focused on the decision making and problem solving. So this one contains the type of materials that would accumulate over the time. So the trainees is required to do 2 things. The first one, you need to determine the priority and devise a solution to each problem. Okay, so if you fail to to prioritize your work, so you will also fail to plan to fail your in completing your work or solution to that problem. The next one, number 6. Okay, so number 6 is what we call the computer assisted training. There are 2 functions. The first one is memory, and also the second one is storage. So this one is make it possible to store a variety of training materials in a computer. So what are the advantages? There are 3 advantages when you are using the computer assisted training. The first one is low cost, yes, simplicity, and lastly is the flexible in accommodating a wide variety of situation and training skills level. So computer assisted training. Okay, next one. Okay, actually you can refer to your textbook because for the computer assisted instruction, there are one more significant disadvantages, especially the computer assisted instruction is lack of discipline among some of the employees. Okay, so again for this one, simulation training technique, you can refer to your textbook for additional information. Okay, next one. Audio cassette. Okay, I'm not sure you are familiar with the audio cassette or not nowadays. Okay, so this one is involved the use of audio cassette in training employees. Okay, so the trainees are able to listen to the cassettes as many times as they need to achieve the mastery, or in other words, you listen to the audio again and again, okay, to complete your job. So the advantages, the first one is accommodate trainees who learn best from an auditory approach. Okay, some of the train or some of us as a people, we are what we call the person who are more to the auditory approach. Okay, for example, the type of you study, some of you study, you can listen to the music at the same time you study. Why? Because you are auditory approach. Okay, so the next one, the next advantages is economical and can be used anywhere, anytime, and have access to the tape player. So when you are going to use the audio cassette, you need to have the tape player. Next one, yes, this is the video training. So one of the new media, which is tape, laser, video disc, and etc. So you are using the video training, presenting the training with the training experiences. Compared to us, I'm doing this teaching video so that you can watch. I explain the chapter 7 again and again. Okay, so the advantages, yes, convenient, fast learning result is provided, and availability for future use. So I can use this my notes chapter 7 for next semester for the next student who are going to take 3, 4, 5. Okay, but the difference is this is more to the training, especially in the work condition. Okay, next one, number 9 is interactive video instruction. So this one is a new training technique. So the trainees carries a dialogue with the computer. Yes, you are using the video instruction from the computer, more sophisticated and more costly, but there are advantages for this one. Interactive video instruction is resulting fast learning time. Okay, and then trainees' ability to master more and retain more than other technique, and costly equipment and materials. Okay, regarding interactive video instruction, are you familiar with the typing online? Okay, some of the students who learn with me during OBM 1-to-1, they are familiar with some of the what we call video instruction, or the on how you are going to complete. This one is by using computer, how you are going to complete the typing lesson letter by letter. Okay, so this is the technique number 9, simulation. Lastly, virtual reality. Virtual reality is designed to mesh as closely as possible images of the task for which the simulated training materials were developed. Okay, virtual reality. I'm going to give you an example of simulation virtual reality, like people are learning on how to fly a plane. Okay, they have that kind of what we call simulation. Okay, this is what we call virtual reality, almost the real one. Okay, so the training will likely view on a television monitor or computer screen images that closely resemble reality as he or she perform the process. But there are disadvantage of this one is the length of time taken to develop the virtual reality, and the next disadvantages is quite costly. Okay, so these are what we call the second categories of training technique, which is the simulation training techniques. Okay, next one, this is the last part. So the last part is the on-the-job training technique. So what is on-the-job training technique? This one is a category of training that put employees in the actual job they will be performing, or one closely resemble the job they will be performing. Okay, or in other words, when you come to your new organization, you do not have the training yet, but they just put you on the what we call the task. So you are going to learn, you are going to practice the technique on the job training. This is what we call the job training. Okay, for example is the driving. Okay, you do not have any information, you are not learn how to drive a car yet, but again the person asks you to drive the car. Okay, you do not have. This is what we call on the job training. Okay, this is what you need to have a self-confident to complete your job. Okay, so there are 5. So let's go one by one for this one. The first one is employer-employee cooperative training. Okay, this one is combined in classroom instruction with on-the-job instruction. Okay, so maybe your employee cooperative training. This is the first part. Okay, for this one, I can relate with our situation in the classroom session. Sometimes your lecturer giving you an instruction, okay, how to complete the job. So this is what we call the employer-employee cooperative training, or in other words, the lecturer and the student cooperative training. Okay, asking you to complete the job, how to do your job description or job specification, for example. Okay, but we are focusing more on the job situation. Okay, number 2, on-the-job coaching. Okay, for this one, trainers, supervisors become the trainer. Okay, so you have your supervisor when you go to a new job, a new organization, or to your new job. So you have someone as supervisor. So your supervisor will become your trainer or your coach. Okay, so there are suggestions to improve effectiveness of employee coaching. So there are 5. The first one, you need to recognize that individuals have a varying needs and that they respond differently to work pressure, challenge and change. Okay, this is the first one. Number 2, the second suggestion is you need to make sure employee is fully aware of his or her job responsibility. Okay, number 3, you need to provide the employee with clear defined objective and priorities. Number 4, you need to open up a communication line with the employee by asking open-ended question. Ask your employee, how was it? Is it hard? Can you do it? Okay, open-ended question. And then you need to replace a criticism with clarification, explanation, encouragement, suggestion and discussion. Okay, so when your employee have completed the job, you need to do your clarification. Is he or she do it correctly, or if he or she do it wrongly, you need to give suggestion, recommendation, explain why this is wrong. Or also you can encourage your new employee. Okay, if he or she cannot perform, just encourage her or she that she will make the job much better tomorrow, for example. Okay, so this is number 2. Number 3 is job rotation. Okay, job rotation. Trainees learn a new job processes by rotating through a variety of position or experiences. Okay, this is happening in UiTM Cawangan Terengganu, for example. Maybe some of the clerical staff, they work at, for example, they are working at the HEA in the academic. Okay, department HEA for maybe 6 months, 1 year, and then they need to rotate their job. They go to another department, which is maybe the HEP or maybe to the administrative. So there are job rotation to make sure the employee or the clerical staff is multitasking. Okay, so this is what we call job rotation. So he or she is not just familiar with that department, they are familiar with other department. So when you do the job rotation, one of the advantages, your employee is multitasking. Put it any department, they can do their job, they can perform their job, but it's going to take a while for them to learn the new nature of the job. For example, it's quite different HEA and HEP. Okay, so this is job rotation. Job rotation is quite good. Number 4, job instruction training or JIT. So this one is involved providing trainees with a series of training experiences about various aspects of their jobs, tasks. Okay, so many of his jobs are comprised of tasks arranged in a logical sequence of steps. Okay, so there are a certain step for you to complete the job, maybe 5 steps or maybe a certain procedure, so you need to follow to make sure that you complete the job. If you miss one step, or if you miss the one of the step procedures, you are not going to complete the job. This is what we call job instruction training. You need to follow the instruction in order for you to complete the job. Okay, so JIT can be quite useful for familiarizing employees with these tasks. Okay, and materials are developed around the various sequential steps comprising a job. This is number 4. And lastly is just in time training. Just in time training is focused on the employee's need for immediate information related to his or her job. So this one is provide the employee with the opportunity to learn the application and then immediately apply it to the actual job task. Okay, so that's it. The last categories of training technique, which is on the job training techniques. Okay, so I'm going to recap back. Okay, for chapter 7, okay, you need to know in chapter 7 we have learned about the orienting and also the training. Okay, so the orienting, you need to know especially what are the benefits of orientation. The orientation checklist, you have 11 items in the orientation checklist, and you also have the orientation kits. So there are 9 items in the orientation kits. And then for training, you need to know there are 3 categories of training technique. The first one is information distribution training techniques. You have 7. Okay, and then simulation training techniques. This one you have 10. And lastly is on the job training techniques, and this one you have 5. Okay, so that's it for chapter 7, and I'm going to meet you again in chapter in chapter 8. Okay, the last chapter. Okay, so that's it for now from me, and thank you so much. Oh, again, we are referring again, our main reference is Scribble and our additional is Scholars and Killing. Okay, so that's it for chapter 7. Thank you so much, and see you again in chapter 8. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.